Let's be real, we're all looking for ways to get a better handle on our focus and our mental health. And, more and more, we're turning to digital tools for help. So today we're going to unpack one of these, a digital toolkit made for the ADHD brain. We'll take a look at the strategies it's offering and what that says about this new world of do-it-yourself wellness.
I mean, this is the question, isn't it? It feels more important now than ever. Finding that little island of focus and balance is exactly the challenge these kinds of digital tools are trying to solve. They're basically promising us a map to find some clarity in all the noise of modern life.
So what are we looking at today? Our source is a digital resource bundle for ADHD that you can find on Etsy. Now, we're not here to sell you on it or anything. Instead, we're using it as a kind of window, a peek into the kinds of self-help ideas and psychological tools that are being packaged up and sold online. All right, so here's the game plan. We'll start with the big idea of focus and balance. Then we're going to dig into the specific tools for the brain. After that, we'll get into mastering emotions and how we talk to each other. And we'll wrap it all up by seeing how all these pieces are meant to lead to a real sense of empowerment. First up, let's talk about the big promise here. What's the goal? Well, this toolkit isn't just about getting through the day. It's framed as a way to actually boost your personal growth. So the idea isn't just about managing challenges. It's about building a better, more effective playbook for your life. So how are we supposed to do that? Well, it offers what it calls a toolkit for organizing our internal world. And, I kind of love that metaphor. It suggests that if you have the right instruments, you can actually build a mind that's more organized and works better for you. So, what's in the box? Okay, so this toolkit is really packed. It's got a mix of hands-on exercises and bigger ideas. You've got things like worksheets, guides for handling your emotions, and some really interesting lessons on things like communication skills and executive functioning. Let's break down some of the most important ones. Let's start with a term you hear thrown around a lot, executive functioning. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like the CEO of your brain. These are the skills that are in charge of everything, planning your day, keeping you focused, and organizing all your tasks so you can actually get things done. This toolkit makes it really clear that strengthening this mental CEO is priority number one. So how do you give that mental CEO a promotion? This resource breaks it down into 3 simple steps. First, there's planning. That's all about looking ahead and structuring what's to come. Then you've got organization. That's arranging all the pieces right now. And finally, it all comes down to prioritization. That super critical skill of figuring out what you need to do first. And this is where all that theory becomes real. Something as simple as a worksheet becomes like a gym for your brain. It's a place where you can actively practice sorting out your thoughts, see how you're improving, and figure out which strategies actually work for you, personally. Okay, so we've talked about organizing our thoughts and our to-do lists. But what about the other half of the puzzle, our feelings? This toolkit makes a huge point that mastering our emotions is just as crucial. So let's dive into what it calls the inner work of emotional regulation.
So this bundle describes emotional regulation as building 2 things, awareness and stability. And notice, the goal here isn't to get rid of your emotions or push them down, it's to actually understand them. When you can do that, the payoff is massive. We're talking better self-control and way less stress.
So how do you actually do this? Well, one really powerful technique the toolkit suggests is called sitting with feelings. Just think about it for a second. Usually, our first instinct when we feel something difficult is to run away from it. This guide says, nope, do the exact opposite. Just sit with that feeling. Observe it. Don't judge it. The idea is to build up your emotional muscle, your resilience, and just as important, to show yourself a little compassion.
Okay, so you're getting better at managing your own thoughts and feelings. That's awesome. But how does that actually change how you deal with other people? That's the really important next step, taking all these internal skills and bringing them out into the world, into our relationships.
And that brings us to this huge idea, the difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is that instant, impulsive, gut-level thing. But a response, that's mindful, it's considered. The whole trick here is to create just a tiny little bit of space, a pause, between something happening and you doing something about it. That pause is where you get to choose a thoughtful response over an emotional reaction. And why does this matter so much? Because learning to respond instead of just reacting is the absolute key to better communication.
It leads straight to clearer conversations, more effective teamwork, and, at the end of the day, just stronger relationships that are built on really understanding each other.
Okay, let's bring it all together. We've looked at tools for our thoughts, tools for our emotions, and tools for our conversations. So what's the big idea that ties it all together? Well, it all boils down to one core idea: empowerment. The toolkit sees personal growth as resting on these three connected pillars. You've got your executive functioning to handle your tasks and your emotional intelligence to handle your feelings. But look what they're both built on: a solid foundation of self-awareness. The message is pretty clear. You can't manage what you don't even understand about yourself. And this quote from the source really just nails it. Empower your well-being and unlock your potential today. The ultimate message isn't just about coping or getting by. It's about actively taking the driver's seat. It's a call to action, telling you to use these tools to build the life you actually want.
So, after digging through all of this, what's the big takeaway? Well, this toolkit is a great example of how digital resources can give us a structured, easy-to-access way to build these really fundamental self-management skills. It literally puts the power to learn and practice right into our own hands, whenever we need it. And all of this leads to a much bigger question for all of us to think about. As these digital resources get smarter and more common, what role are they going to play in the future of our well-being? It's a really powerful trend, and it means that more tools for our own personal growth are now quite literally